Fall has finally come to the southwest Louisiana here. We finally got our first cool front. Today is September 25th, I think it is. I probably should have checked that before I started this video. But it's a nice cool morning, and it's time to make some gumbo. We're gonna get started in there in just a second here. I was out enjoying some coffee, enjoying the weather. It's a tradition here in South Louisiana to make gumbo when the first cold front comes through. And that time is now. Today we're gonna be making some chicken and sausage gumbo. We won't be adding okra this time. Another variation is seafood gumbo. Won't be making that today. Chicken and sausage gumbo, just outstanding, delicious, especially when the weather gets nice. It's like a reward for lasting through the brutal South Louisiana heat and humidity of the summer. Okay guys, we're ready to get started. See a few of our seasonings in the background there that we like to use. This is our seasoning vegetables. It's onion and bell pepper, chopped as coarse or as fine as you like. I like it a little more robust. The bell peppers, by the way, are some that we raised here on the homestead. Normally what we would do is also add celery here, but since we didn't have any on hand, Amy had dehydrated some celery before and made a celery powder out of it, so we'll be using that today. Some smoked sausage. This came from one of our local meat markets. We're blessed by the Lord to have several meat markets around us. This is smoked pork sausage in this case from a little place called Rabidou's. And also leg quarters that came from our homestead as well. We raised these chickens. Now, I say leg quarters, but we did cut those into drumsticks and thighs. We split them. And last but not least, roux. We do like to make our own roux, but at this time we didn't have it. We didn't have any on hand, so we went ahead and we got some. Take it easy in the comments on us for using store-bought roux. Change of plans, quick trip to the grocery store, and we went and got some tasso, which is basically just a chunk of smoked meat. That gets added into the gumbo for just an extra splash of flavor. What really brought us to the grocery store this morning was to get these potatoes. Potatoes don't go in gumbo. Well, not directly. Stick around to the end and I'll show you what I mean. This big old pot is where the magic is going to happen. It's so tall, actually, that there's not much space here between the vent hood and the top of the pot. So that's going to be a challenge, but we're going to make it happen. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to throw in the sausage. And that's going to start sauteing. And we're going to get the oils out of the sausage while it's browning. And we want that for the next step. Oh, a little extra oil as well. The sausage has started browning, and we're going to add the tasso. We want to keep that moving. A little bit of sticking is okay because all that flavor that sticks to the bottom is going to be incorporated into the gumbo, and it's going to be delicious. I figured I would mention, Abby just reminded me that I should say this because it's true. If you ask 10 Cajuns how to make gumbo, you're going to get 11 different answers. It's just that versatile and that many ways to make gumbo. This is our way of making gumbo. So if you disagree, that's okay. Once you've got the sausage and the tasso reasonably fried down, it doesn't have to be completely cooked. It's already cooked, it's smoked, but you're just taking some of the flavor out, some of the oils out. What you're gonna wanna do is take it all out. While leaving as much oil as you can in the pan, or in the pot for the next step. Now that the sausage and tasso is out and the oils are still in goes the onions and bell peppers. And if you're using fresh celery, that would go in too. Now you simply saute the onions and bell peppers and celery, if that's what you have, until the onions are clear. Then the seasoning vegetables come out of the pot too. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, over on this side of the stove, we got another pot going on with some boiling water, and we're going to start, dissolving roux? Mm-hmm. Is that what, yeah. And Amy was just telling me something. You want to share that?
I normally do this in the bottom of the big pot. However, because that pot is so tall, I end up burning myself trying to use a whisk at the bottom of that pot. I steam my arms.
Nobody makes a whisk long enough.
Well, they do, but I just don't have one.
How much roux are you going to use today?
The whole thing.
So a whole pint. Mm-hmm. All right. So the instructions that we're giving you today in this video is, it's not so much a recipe, and that's gumbo in general. It's not so much a recipe. It's more technique and intuition. And I guess in a sense, you've got to draw on the knowledge of your ancestors.
With the roux, you want to keep it moving. If you let it sit at the bottom of the pot, it burns, and that's what causes the burn marks. Like what's on the bottom of the inside of that pot.
Nasty.
And it doesn't come off.
Not really nasty. It doesn't get in the food.
No, I've scrubbed it. It won't come off.
A little bit of burnt is flavor, but not when it comes to roux.
No, you don't want to burn your roux. Basically, I'm taking the whisk, and I'm just going to keep it moving, keep it from sitting in one spot on the bottom of the pot. You don't really want it boiling. It's more or less a simmer until everything is dissolved into the water. And there's no real water to roux ratio. It's just kind of how it looks.
Today we're using store-bought roux, but we do make our own roux, or Amy does. Amy is the cook, so I'm the filmmaker. So there's that. But Amy makes roux, and we do have a video on that, and I'll link that in the corner right now. Most of the oils were soaked up into the veggies, so we're going to add a little cooking oil for the next step, which is it's time to brown the chicken. Now this is homegrown, home-raised chicken, and it's pre-seasoned with a good sprinkling of Tony Sashers seasoning. And that's just going to go into the pot. And I'm just going to brown it on all sides, just to get some flavor happening in the pot, a little more flavor than what we already have. It's so loud.
I know.
So
well, I have to have the vent on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm over here. It's probably a bad angle, but I'm sure you get the idea. I'm sure you browned chicken before, but you put it in there and you let it sit. You don't, not burned, not to the point of being scorched, but if it sticks to the bottom, that's okay, because that's that flavor I keep talking about. Ooh, I wish you could smell this in here. The chicken is frying down in the big pot. We got roux just about dissolved and ready to go in right here.
This needs to boil for at least 30 minutes.
At least 30 minutes. A little bit of added seasoning.
I'm going to add the celery powder into the roux. There's no certain measurement, I just kind of eyeball it. But it's easier to add it into this pot and dissolve it in than it is to stir that big cube. monster pot.
It's like a foundry in here.
Okay, now that should quiet down.
There we go. So that's the good beginnings of a gumbo already. I could eat it just like that. Well, I mean the chicken's
We're
not
gonna
done, but-
add the sausage, tasso, and veggies back into here. So we can get it.
all those things that came out of the pot now go back in.
Alright, we're gonna stir that in and we're gonna top it with some water. Here goes the water.
Now for this, you need to make sure that you have a spoon that's long enough to reach the bottom of that pot, because it's time to scrape all that good tasting stuck off the bottom of the pot.
Now I need to bring it to a boil and let it boil for 1 to 2 hours.
Simmer, right?
Well, yeah, we're gonna let it simmer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's gonna simmer for what feels like an eternity, because this is so delicious smelling.
We used water instead of broth because we're basically boiling the chicken into the roux and it makes its own broth. You can use broth, just be aware that that's going to add more salt. Once this is cooked for about an hour, you can taste it and add whatever seasonings you want and season it to taste. It needs to boil it needs to simmer, excuse me, for at least 2 hours. That's what melds together all those rich, wonderful flavors.
And so you can see what time it is. It's a little afternoon, so this is not going to be ready for lunch. Although we really wanted it to be, we got a late start this morning. So it is what it is. After a few hours, it's actually been, see, it's 3:30, so it's actually been, what, 3.5 hours that it's been boiling? You can see the line on the pot, how low it has, how much it has reduced, and the chicken is fall off the bone tender. We're about to get in this. So if you watch this whole video and you still don't know how to make gumbo, you need to do what we did and get yourself an old Cajun man. The last step, of course, is to serve your gumbo over rice. It's like an in between soup and rice and gravy. You want to get it nice and full. Oh, and don't forget, let me see if I can grab one here. We threw some boiled eggs in here too. Boiled eggs soak up the gumbo juice and they're just so delicious. And then you serve this.
Who's that for?
That's for me.
For you?
That's for me. Oh, it's getting hot. Come over here, please. Serve that with a side of potato salad. Told you those potatoes were gonna show up at the end of the video.